I was thinking last night, wow, what do we do now? And really wanted to still continue what we had been discussing before Passover, utilizing the energy of Passover. This is our final week in the month of Nisan, the Jewish month of Passover. And I felt this energy is still really out there and really powerful and really relevant. So let's take advantage. So this class I'm viewing as post-Passover, because it's not like, okay, Passover's over, we're done. Let's still continue some of that great work of Passover. What we were discussing in terms of Passover, of course, was achieving freedom, liberation. Anyone felt that there was a certain freedom that they achieved over Passover? Anyone felt that they accomplished something and they felt a shift over Passover? Because we did discuss this the Sunday before Passover.
I did. I had a huge breakthrough.
Wow, that's so nice to hear, Dixie.
I went, of course, to Yael Bax's, the rabbi's wife. I stay at her house on the holidays usually, and sometimes Shabbat. And of course, you're surrounded by all the holy books and the holiness of the home, being in that kind of environment. And finally, I have come to the conclusion of who I really am, how I fit in with the whole scheme of Passover, and how how do I want to say it? My exodus is real. And it's a coming out of the klipa, of the shituf, of the Christianity, of the world, of the materialism. That's my exodus. And so by praying with her and doing the Passover like the Jews do it, but I also insert, this is my part of it. This is what I have come out of. And this is when I cross. So anyway, it was huge. It's huge.
That's
Huge.
huge. Do you think it was help it's just year after year of working? So there was like, a little bit, and then this year was the tremendous breakthrough. Do you think it's
I
because you were in that environment, or do you think there was something you did different this year that really helped you reach this point?
No, I was hearing a bunch of teachings this year. I take from Yehuda Cohen and Sarah, and they were talking about the personal side of Passover, not necessarily how it's always been taught before, but they focused on your Passover. And then there was a couple of rabbis that came up with the same thing. And it was
We
my
spoke about that also.
yeah, you too. And yeah, how it's personal. It's our own Egypt, but it's a different Egypt. It's not the Egypt of in the Torah necessarily. It's the same though. It's exactly the same. It's our Egypt in us. It's a Pharaoh, just like you said, everybody has said. And that was the breakthrough this year. Finally, it hit me. I got it. It can't be the same as the Jews. It's got to be our
Mhm.
personal exodus from the klipa of the world, from Christianity, from all the religions. That's what it is. So yes, it was huge,
That
huge,
is
huge.
huge. That is huge. And I'm so glad that you were able to experience that. That's such a blessing. It's a
Oh,
blessing, and I'm glad God gave you that gift because that's a real gift.
well, it took a load off of me. It's who I am. I don't have to compete with the Jewish people. He created me and he made me a ger toshav to come under the wings of the Torah through the Jews, we're very important. We're a light around you guys. We're to protect you from the world that comes against you. So I mean, it's
Absolutely. So you
huge.
can bring God's light to the world, so that 8 billion mankind, to
Mhm.
represent 8 billion mankind and be a catalyst for that light. Absolutely. I'm so glad. That's amazing. Anyone else had any Passover? It doesn't have to be as dramatic as Dixie. Sometimes someone says something really powerful. You're like, oh, I feel so stupid saying my little thing after that. So everyone, like Dixie said, everyone is on our own journey, our own road. Egypt is our own limitations, and we are all walking the road to our freedom, our liberation. So, what I wanted to develop a bit more was this theme of achieving freedom. Now, of course, there are many different techniques and strategies and approaches we can have, but this is one road that I thought might be helpful to some people. So, to achieve freedom, a good approach is to identify my Pharaoh. Every one of us has our own personal Pharaoh. Now, obviously, we could say in general, for the Jew, we might call that our evil inclination, but I would be more specific than that because an evil inclination could have many different manifestations. So, sort of, what's my core problem? What's my Pharaoh? Now, Pharaoh in Hebrew is the word paro. And paro, Hebrew letters, if you jumble those letters, it spells another word. You're going to have to take this on faith. You're going to have to trust me that paro jumbled spells the word oref. Oref in Hebrew, which means the back of the neck. So we all have a Pharaoh. We all have this neck which separates our mind, our aspiration, our vision from our body, from our reality. And we all have one neck, so to speak, one Pharaoh, a core problem, which is my blockage, and mine might look very different than yours. Every one of us has our own individual one, our own individual Pharaoh, separating my vision from my reality. We could think for a second, asking a question. Anyone out there had dreams for yourself when you were younger? Dreams of what you wanted to fulfill and achieve with your life? Anyone had such dreams? You could raise your real or virtual hand. If you had dreams when you were younger, dreams of what you wanted to fulfill. Looking at yourself, did you achieve some of those dreams? Were some of those dreams fulfilled? Raise your real or virtual hand. Were some of your dreams fulfilled?
Can't find the virtual.
I'll go for physical. If your dream wasn't fulfilled, now again, sometimes you could say, well, my dreams were silly, childlike dreams. So when I got older, I wouldn't want that anymore. I don't want to be a fireman or a policeman anymore, or whatever. But if they were valid aspirations and they weren't fulfilled, maybe you could think, well, why not? Was there a core reason why not? And that's another way to try to uncover your Pharaoh. The Lubavitcher Rebbe shares that when he was a young child, before going to school, which means he was probably under 3, he had an aspiration. His dream was of the redemption. That's a very high level aspiration, especially for a child of about 2.5 to have. But most of us have some dreams. And some of us, as we grow older, we shelve those dreams because they're silly. They're not a dream you would want when you're an adult. And sometimes they are something you'd want, but you shelve it because of other reasons. And sometimes the reason is because of that Pharaoh. So it's a really good idea to try to identify, what is my Pharaoh? What is my personal weakest point, my Achilles heel, my weakest point in my makeup that is my stumbling block for the success, the vision, the dreams, the person I should be? So I know mine because I've definitely thought about this quite a while. I've got a lot of head start on everyone else in the class because I've definitely thought about these ideas many times. So I definitely know mine. And we all take a second now to try to think. And when you can come up with yours, raise your, again, real or virtual hand, which I know who's with me in like saying, yeah, I can sort of say what my Pharaoh is. So some of us very quickly identified our Pharaoh. Many of us still have not identified the Pharaoh. But I really do believe that every one of us, if we really think about it, and maybe for some people it's more natural because you've also thought these thoughts, or it's very obvious to you in your situation what your Pharaoh is. And some people, it's not so obvious. They've never thought about this. They have no clue what I'm talking about. But really trying to think my core issue. Now that core issue might have 57 manifestations, but what is the core issue that's my blockage? So if you didn't have time now, I do hope over this week, it would be a wonderful thing to really introspect on. And once you understand what your Pharaoh is, of course, the idea is to overcome it, to have your personal exodus, to leave your Pharaoh behind. So I was really demanding for myself last night when I was preparing this, so what can I tell you? Once you figure out your Pharaoh, how do you get out of your Egypt? So a few pointers that I think are very helpful. I'm going to give you 7 pointers. 1, once you identify your Pharaoh, don't lose focus. Every day, remind yourself, I'm getting out of Egypt. This issue, my Pharaoh, my blockage, my insecurity, my lack of belief in self, my overconfidence, my lack of connection to a people, my lack of trust, whatever it is. Every day I'm reminding myself, this is my Pharaoh, this is my Egypt that I am getting out. Second point, understand this Pharaoh is blocking me from my aspirations and dreams. We all have dreams. We might have different dreams now than when we were children, but we all still have dreams. I have many dreams. I have many fantasies. I have many wishes. I have many things I want. And if I understand this little Pharaoh, by the way, was 3-foot midget. It says by the times of redemption, when God will remove our evil inclination from us, we'll see it as this tiny little, we'll say, this thing is giving me all those problems. This is a blockage separating me from who I want to be, who I must be, who I can be. If I want to really have a lot of venom, I want to have a lot of focus, I want to have a lot of determination. This is worth the fight. This is worth getting out of this Egypt. Third point, watch yourself. Watch yourself vis-a-vis your Egypt, your Pharaoh, and catch yourself when you're trapped. Stop yourself. Note, be aware, be metacognitive. Think about your thinking. Process what you're thinking and feeling and reacting and responding, and catch yourself when you're trapped by your Pharaoh. Because the more you're aware, even if you didn't stop yourself, the more you're aware, that's my Pharaoh. No, messed up. How can I do makeup work now? How can I correct this? How can I do the repair work? The more you're conscious and watching yourself and catching yourself, hopefully stopping yourself before, but even stopping yourself after, the more and more you can achieve exodus. The more and more you can get out of your Egypt, out of your Pharaoh. The fourth point, create opportunities, celebrate opportunities when you could go to the opposite extreme. Maimonides says that the best road for most traits, for most situations, is to be in the middle, not too extreme, to be balanced, not too much to the right, not too much to the left, to be balanced. But he says when you're trying to change something, you need to go the opposite extreme. So if you were trying to exchange ego, you would want to be excessively humble. If you were trying to change dishonesty, you would want to be incredibly honest. If you were trying to change a self-obsession, you would want to be incredibly other-focused. Obviously, when you get more free, then you want to become middle of the road, because that's the balanced approach is the healthiest. But when you're trying to change, you really want to go extreme, because that's how we change, according to Maimonides. So when you can create opportunities, and as I'm saying, celebrate those opportunities to really go the entire opposite direction, to really, really give yourself opportunities to flex those muscles and change. Anyone here can think of parts of themselves that they have changed over the years, that they have escaped that piece of their Egypt they used to be, but now they're not? Anyone had those experiences? Raise your real or virtual hand if you've had such experience of how you used to be different, but you really worked on yourself and you changed. When you're looking at those times in the past, because obviously if we look at the past, it helps for the present. Can you think of what aided you then to change? I saw a number of people, myself included, that have successfully changed parts of themselves, which means we've left some of our Egypt, some of our Pharaoh behind. Anyone can share anything that they saw like help them do that?
Well, mine I already shared, so you got that.
I think for myself, I'm trying to think of, because over the years I have definitely worked on different pieces of self. I think for me, a lot of times it was just the discipline, like the consistency of it, the constancy of it. I want to change this, and just sticking with it, sticking with it, sticking with it. And then I generally found that change happened far sooner than I imagined. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, that will take forever, but it's worth it. But it'll take forever. And forever was pretty short. For myself, something else that I've generally experienced a lot of times, my changes weren't coming. Maybe obviously my Passover changes were, but I'm saying not thinking of my Passover experiences. It wasn't so often coming from, I want to leave Egypt and change this. A lot of times it was more, I want to take on this good behavior. I want to take on this good trait. I want to, like, I have this beautiful trait. And I found very often that doing this good really changed some deep pieces of me that were the opposite of that. Or acting in a certain way really changed my inner reality. Our sages say, after the actions come the heart, meaning that a lot of times, like in Freudian psychology, it's sort of the opposite. You know, your inner reality creates your outer reality. And there's a point to that. But the sages say our outer reality is creating our inner world. So if you act patient enough times, the mask becomes the man, and you have patience inside. If you act caring and sensitive and warm, the mask becomes the man, and you truly inside are caring and sensitive and warm. Your outer reality, your actions, or your even again, the action could be expressing a feeling, a thought, a way of interacting with others, changes what's going on inside very strongly, especially if you're consistent about it. So I could definitely say for myself, I've seen that many times that when I consistently behaved in a certain way, it was so powerful in terms of changing my inner world. Any other tips from anyone else that successfully escaped their Egypt or some pieces of their Egypt? Anyone else like to share?
I actually learned about my personal pharaoh from someone else who pointed it out to me. And at first, I didn't want to hear it. I wasn't very happy with this person. But over the last couple of years, I've really come to appreciate his wisdom. And he was right. He was right. And it's something that I have these knee-jerk reactions, and I've had more of them in the past. So they're getting better, and patience is a key. So my actual pharaoh was pointed out to me by someone else, and I think sometimes, it can be hard to listen. It can be hard to accept those things that might be somewhat negative, but if you can accept them in the spirit they're given, and pray and work on them, it can have a very positive outcome.
That's a beautiful point, Sabra. I'm going to even take it a step further. So, what Sabra is saying, and I've had that experience too, where people have pointed out flaws that my self love covered over. So, I wasn't aware of at all. And I'm like, no, that can't possibly be true, right? And over time, sort of saying, well, it's a little true. It's more than a little true. Maybe it's actually true. Maybe I should actually work on it. So I definitely agree with Sabra that sometimes people are going to honestly share with you some of their observations that you're not really so happy with, but maybe are very true. I'm going to take it a step further, though. We know that everything is from God, right? Everything we go through is from God. And sometimes people are telling us things and it's not given in a nice spirit. It's not meant kindly. Sometimes the people are not well. Sometimes the people are aggressive. Sometimes the people are venting their unhappiness on us. So sometimes people not positively blast us. And I've learned it's still worthwhile to listen to what they're saying. Meaning I've had both of Sabra. I've had Sabra's experience of people telling me this about me. And I'm like, no, come on. But I've also had people that are really not well and really aggressive and abusive, saying really nasty things about me.
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, you're not going to listen to because the person's not well, the person's not nice, the person's aggressive, the person's in a lot of pain. I could be very compassionate for their pain, but I know they're not well. I know what they're doing is not appropriate on any level. And everybody would say, hang up on a person who's talking to you like that, right? Or hold the phone like this. But I've still learned that everything is from God. And sometimes those messages are also coming through those unhealthy people and the unhealthy way they're talking to you. So the packaging is off. I'm not accepting it the spirit was given because it was not given in a good spirit. But I still know that God rules the world. And sometimes he could be choosing to give me messages not from the most pristine mouths, not from the best vehicles, but from the ones that will say it. Maybe saying it too harshly, too exaggerated, too intently. But if you filter through, the core often is still true. So what Sabra's advising, and I think it's an excellent point, is if you're clueless what your pharaohs are, maybe start listening to people criticizing you. Because you might find out some things about yourself that it's sometimes hard for us to accept because, as the sages say, self-love covers all flaws. That's a saying of the sages. Self-love covers all flaws. So sometimes it is really hard to acknowledge what our Pharaoh is. And sometimes if we can't do it, listen, the world might be telling it to us. Very, very Sabra.
And I think sometimes when we make a change that needs to be made for self-preservation, it can then become exaggerated. And I know my daughter pointed out one to me. She says, I know you needed to be able to act such and such, but that's not needed anymore. And that's not really what you are underneath. And so I started working on that. And it was hard. And I'm still working on it.
That's great.
Yes, it is great. And these things are hard. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another point, a fifth tip is to make a personal inner vision board. How will I look differently when I escape this Pharaoh, when I escape this Egypt? Now, you might choose to actually make a physical vision board, and that might be more powerful for you. But it could also be an inner vision, a vision of, in a very detailed way, how I will look different, how I will think different, how I will speak different, how I will feel different, how I will behave different. And when you really see it, it's easier to achieve it. It's easier to walk toward it when it's so concrete. Someone has something they wanted to add?
It's Robin. I was thinking,
Robin.
it sounds like it would be a great weekend for women to gather and do that.
Yes, you're saying to make those vision boards together?
Yeah, like to do this in a group of women and make vision boards and think about the things that need to be, navigated and grown, so on and so forth. It sounds like it'd be a great weekend.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Because a lot of times when you're doing something with another person, like your spirits are supporting each other. Like when you're alone, sometimes it's hard to shift. And when you have someone else's energy, yes. Of course, for most Noahides, people are pretty scattered. But even over Zoom, even over
no, but literally to get together, it would, to be in the, like, you go to a house or you go to a hotel and you do a full day of the work. I think it'd be amazing.
I think you're right.
How do you do a vision board of something that is not seeable?
So if you're doing something that's not tangible, that's the whole point. You want to make it tangible. And you want to find those symbols. Like, in literary, you speak of motifs, which are really symbolic representation of a theme. So the motif of water, right, is symbolizing whatever it could be symbolizing, which isn't physically water, but that water represents something. Or, we can think in literature of different classical symbols that are used that represent things, not the thing themselves, but the aspect, the theme
Right.
of the thing. And it's really, we're physical people. And the more concrete we can envision something, that's why I like Robin's idea. If you're really like chewing it over and talking it with a friend or two or three, or she's a big, broad thinker, so she's already planning a weekend retreat, which is wonderful. I'm a smaller thinker, so I'm taking her idea and saying, yeah, maybe do it with a friend over Google or Zoom. But I like that, because chewing it out with someone else or someone's really helps it become concrete. The more we see it, the more we can achieve it. The more concrete it is, the more I'm walking toward it. If I really see how I will engage with people differently when I leave this Egypt, it's so clear to me, I can start acting that way and leaving my Egypt. If I could really see how I will speak differently, how I will respond differently. Sabra spoke about the triggers, the knee-jerk responses. If I could see myself going through that experience trigger-free, knee not jerking at all, I see it so clearly, I can achieve it. The more I see it, the more natural it is to actually do it. And as I said, the actions create the inner reality. As we do it, we change inside. We change and we change and we change. Now, some people's pharaohs are like 60 years deep, but that doesn't mean we can't leave Egypt. We can. We all can. And these are just different ways to make it practical, to make our exodus practical.
Thank you, because I have never had anybody explain a vision board to me. That's why I was asking, because I had no concept until you explained it.
Thank you. And again, you could try it.
I have not run across
it. You, but maybe this will. That's why I'm giving a number of different. I'm giving 7 ideas, because for one person, one's going to be more meaningful. For one person, all 7 are going to be impactful. 6 point: turn to God to help. Say psalms, give charity, do spiritual things to aid and facilitate your growth. Bring God in. I do this all the time. I'll do the work, but I really rely on His carrying me. I really rely on His help.
This stuff since I'm a young girl. Vision boarding, what is it? You're writing in your journal, talking to God, going for walks in nature, and doing different things for people in my family to help them and make them feel better, like that I'm doing things.
And have you seen the shifts?
Yeah. Since I'm very young, and it makes a big difference all the time. And I'm doing a lot of it now in Nordstrom's, where I'm working with so many personalities.
To try to shift the energy there?
Yeah, constantly trying to, shift it and keep things smooth and going.
Is there, so you just said a lot of the things I was saying you do and have done since you were very young. Is there any one that you more turn to, or you use all of them and you rely on all of them, and together it creates the result?
Well, it just depends on what's before me. Like, if I have to listen to, not that I have to listen, but maybe someone's going to tell me something that maybe I could do better differently, then I'll take that quietly and thank them, and I'll start weaving it in, and I'll be watching and doing. I don't know.
Well, if you said you've been doing this since a young age, it was probably very intuitive by you. It was just you just naturally came to it.
Right. I'm a quieter person, and I would listen and I would watch to understand maybe what I need to do or why. I'm an observer.
Well, I think it's amazing because Robin's my commercial here. No, I did not set her up beforehand. She's done this. She's seen the results. She still
Yep.
does it. She still sees the results.
Yep.
Anyone else has done this? Let's take this specific point I was just saying now. When you're
Well,
trying to
I
create
have
a
always
change,
journaled
journaled.
and
Mhm.
seen changes and results. That doesn't mean that as I've gotten rid of one pharaoh that I didn't find another one, is what I'm
Yes.
trying to point out. I'm still
Sometimes,
working.
sometimes it's like layers of an onion. It's really the
Mhm.
same pharaoh. It's the same pharaoh because I think, as Lubavitcher Rebbe says, we all have one pharaoh, but there could be layers and layers and layers getting to the core of your pharaoh. Now,
Yeah.
it could
Mhm.
be, it could not be, and it could be, no, I have this pharaoh and I have this pharaoh and I have this pharaoh. But all of us have one core pharaoh, but there could be many layers we have to uncover to pull
Mhm.
out its core, to get to that core pharaoh. So Robin says yes. Now, when Carol is saying journaling, as I'm understanding it in the context that we're talking about, she's really using the journal as a vehicle of talking to God and turning to God for help. Anyone else has done this besides myself? Well, I definitely do this all the time. And Robin, who's done this since she was very young, and Carol, anyone else has tried bringing in God when you're looking to create this change again through journaling, through Psalms, through charity, through taking on something good you know God wants, through talking to Him a lot, and really seeing with His help that you have changed?
Hello,
I
Mrs. Sue.
talk to him constantly.
Okay.
That's my change.
Jenny,
I,
you said constantly?
I do.
Uh,
Dixie.
yeah.
Oh, Dixie, Dixie. Sorry, I
I'm
think
next to
Jenny
Dixie.
and Dixie were talking at the same time. So
I
Dixie,
was.
what
It
did
was
you
echo.
say?
Well, I always have had that connection that he's with me and I have to have his help. And I can't do it. God, you gotta help.
Yeah, that's what I tell him also.
Me
That's
too.
exactly my line. So for you, Dixie, you're saying that's a very comfortable space because that's your norm, is just always talking to God
Yeah.
in just talking and turning and just seeing the results.
And I have this thing when I mess up or I say a bad word, I say, God, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. You know, I mean, it's a connection that you know you've done bad and you don't want to, but I did it. I didn't mean it. You know, he's everywhere. He's in everything. So I talk to him all the time.
That's the best. Me too. Jenny, what were you saying?
For me, what works is journaling works too. I wrote everything that I wanted and know that it happened already. It's like I put it like, okay, it's already mine. It's done and it's finished. And I sometimes I did also visualization and it works, and also drawing. What I remember is when I was like 14 years old, I drew a house that I really wanted. I drew it. And then after like 24 years, and then I built the house. Then after 2 years of building it, I realized that's the house I drew when I was
Wow.
14 years old. And then I remember that. So what I did is I started to draw again. I drew the house that I really I wanted. And in my mind, I lived there already. It's like, and also what I did is for my son before he became an actor. When he was in my womb, I said, I did affirmation. I said, you're I said, you're a famous actor. You're a philanthropist. You are kind. You love God and God loves you. And I said all the good things that you are serving God. I said that to him while he was in my womb. And then, oh, it's happening. He did some, donation when we were very close, but still now we started becoming close again. And then, he's an actor. And then last time he told me, Mom, I want to have a movie. Then I said, I want to do a movie, a lead role. I said, then just act on it. Know that you made you do a movie and you're a lead actor and it's box office hit. That's it. That's all you. It's like when you think about something, son, you have to think that it's already done. And then you let it go to the universe. But always remember, you surrender it to God. You're doing things, it's because you are serving God. Always remember God in everything. Always be grateful and thankful and said to God, God, thank you. I'm so grateful. I'm thankful. All my dreams, everything that I want, it's already mine. You gave it to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. That's it. Easy, finish.
I think what you're saying is a very deep point. This point Jenny's saying is, as Jenny said a lot of things, but the core point she was saying was not envisioning what will be, but envisioning it already is.
Yes.
And we see this in terms of thanking God, that we're supposed to thank God for all the good he does for us, right? We thank God verbally. We can write and journal our thank yous. We can make parties and celebrate thanking God. And that's the appropriate behavior. If someone does something nice for you, you say thank you. You can make a big party to say thank you. You have a term for it in Jewish called Sudat Toda'ah, a party thanking God. You could talk to God. You could give charity as a thank you. There's a deeper thanking God when the thank you comes before we see what we know he's giving us. So before we received it, we're sincerely, absolutely dancing and singing and partying and thanking God for the good that we know he gave us, though it hasn't yet materialized on planet Earth. So that's a very powerful tool. It is very appropriate. It does work. And it's a very strong mindset of, by God's beyond time. And if he's giving it to me, he already gave it to me. I don't see it. I trust him. He gave it to me. Thank you, God, for all this good. It's very, very powerful. I know we're almost over, but I just want to bring in the seventh point, which is, if a person doesn't have any hope of changing, I've tried this before, it hasn't worked, it's good to ask yourself, why am I not succeeding? Here, I heard all these beautiful success stories tonight, and Sabra and Carol and Jenny and Dixie, and people are, well, how can't talk? Why am I not part of that, successful exodus? And sometimes something to ask yourself is, you've identified your Pharaoh. You've tried to get out. You are not succeeding in leaving. How is this feeding me that I don't want to give it up? Meaning sometimes we can recognize that even parts of ourselves we don't like do feed us. And we say we want to change, but under that, we really don't want to change. We don't want to give up the way we benefit from our negative behavior or mindset or emotion. So this is a very critical piece sometimes, to recognize this Pharaoh, this Egypt, is actually feeding me in a certain negative way. And that's why I keep doing it. And when I have that recognition, then I can find freedom. Then I can leave my Egypt, because I've looked at it honestly. Like Sabra said, sometimes you got to hear from other people to be really honest. But I've looked at it honestly. I honestly recognize it. And I honestly recognize why I do it. And knowing why I do it, it's not worth it and I want to get out. And sometimes we really need to go through those thoughts and say, yes, there's a reason why I behave this way. And there's a reason why I'm fed by this negative behavior. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I want to leave Egypt. I want to leave this Pharaoh. I want to. I can. I have my vision board of me different. That's very important, because if you've tried and not succeeded, sometimes you also have the sense of like, well, I'm never going to succeed. I'm never going to change. I'm a lost cause, stuck. So I have all those visions, like Robin said, he uses that a lot. I have that very clear vision, or like Jenny was saying, very clear vision of exactly what it looks like, me, very clear. And I'm aware of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's not worth it. I'd rather leave. I want to get out of my Egypt. So we will stop at this point. But again, I gave you 7 perspectives. I think I'm just going to quickly run through them, because I really want this to be practical. And of course, we can leave and should leave our Egypt every day. And especially now, this last week of Nisan is a great time to do so. So we spoke about identifying our Pharaoh, and we spoke about reminding ourselves daily, this is the Pharaoh. I am leaving. 2, understanding this is blocking me from who I want to be. This is worth overcoming. This is worth being focused on. 3, watching myself, catching myself, falling into that trap, falling back into Egypt. 4, creating and celebrating opportunities to go to the opposite extreme. 5, that vision, that inner vision board in a very, very detailed way to really believe you will change because you see it. 6, we said bringing God in. And 7, the point I just said, understanding that sometimes I'm not changing because there's a piece of me that wants to stay in Egypt. There's a piece of me that's fed by Egypt and it's not worth it and I'm getting out. Work on it. You're worth working on. Know you can change. Believe you're changing. And there's nothing that feels better than freedom. Nothing.